and welcome back. I have a small experimental quiz for you, and the topic is idioms. So, there will be an image on screen, and half the idiom, and the meaning of the idiom will also be given. You have to give me the actual idiom in case you're there. So I am assuming we all know what idioms are, and if not, there is a separate video on that. Even these idioms have been shared at one point or another with you. So, and it's basically a revision and a quiz and a reminder to work on them and learn, and a fun little experiment. Very good. I have my first answer. The idiom is to turn the tide. And the meaning of the idiom, I hope the meaning is very clear on the screen. If not, these screenshots will be later available. Is to reverse the trend of events, right? If something was about to happen and you make the opposite thing happen, let's say you were about to lose a match and then you hit a lot of sixes, so you turn the tide, right? And the image is representation. So I'll move on to the next one. Something something pants, and the meaning is to be extremely restless, impatient, uneasy, or anxious. Also, a hint that the meaning, the image on the screen will help you understand the meaning, but it is not a literal translation, right? That is just an aid. So, an idiom which means to be extremely restless, uneasy, impatient, or anxious, ending with pants. Any answers? Get bonus points for Gryffindor if answered correctly. No? Break music. So I'll move on. I will reveal the answer. Answer is ants in one's pants. It's an American idiom and it means to be anxious, uneasy, impatient. Somebody said, get off the pants, rampants. No, we're looking at idioms. So throw in a couple of words, and it's okay if you haven't heard of it. So the idiom is ants in one's pants. It basically means to be uneasy, impatient, or anxious. I've got ants in my pants because I have to give a presentation at work tomorrow, right? So, in case you haven't heard of it, write it down somewhere. If you have heard of it, great. I will move on to the next one. This one I'm sure is ants in the pants. Okay, yeah. So this one I'm sure is very popular. The image is representative. The image is actually a game because though the meaning is given, I've gone for the actual literal translation and to see whether we can derive the meaning or have fun with it, right? So it kind of comes out as a beautiful idea here. This is a very popular one. Music. Very good. Abhay Pandey has got this right. Answer is butterflies in one's stomach. And this is, I'm sure everybody has felt it at one point or another. Again, maybe because of nervousness, sometimes because of excitement. Maybe you were about to give a speech on a stage. Maybe you were talking to someone special and you were feeling nervous, etc. So, butterflies in one's stomach. And an example, she always has butterflies in her stomach before a test. Very good. So we have got a couple of answers, right? Moving on, try this. Yeah, we got butterflies in the stomach, right? Try this now. The meaning of the idiom is to make a situation more difficult for someone, and most of it is given. You just have to fill out one word. And if you don't know, say no quickly. I will reveal the answer. And I also want to know how much you know and don't know so that I can customize my course accordingly. Tighten the rope. Close, but not exactly. Tighten one's neck. Tighten the rope around one's neck. You guys are, what you're doing is you're giving me a literal translation, but there is an idiom and it says tighten the noose. Tighten the noose. I haven't made the noose image, but I've generally gone for strangulation. You know, you've seen that Fansi ka fanda, right? That Fansi ka fanda or fanda, whatever it's called, is the noose. So if you tighten it, the person will not be able to breathe, right? And therefore, if you want to make, I mean, if you're making someone's life difficult, it is almost the same as making their breathing difficult, figuratively, right? And therefore, the idiom is tighten the noose. Are we okay with this idiom? I don't think anybody got the answer, right? So write it down somewhere and also remind yourself that you have to work on these things, especially if you are new to this, right? And if you have been reading and watching a lot of movies for a long time, you will already know a lot of these, even though you might not get the answer right now. But if this is new to you, please take a deep dive into this, because not only for the exam but for the real life afterwards also, this is all very, very important, right? Next one, breathing, and the meaning is to follow closely behind someone, and the idiom starts with breathing. Any answers? Breathing, something, 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 and the meaning of the idiom is follow closely behind someone in work or in actual walking or running. If you do so, what will happen? You will breathe. Any answers? One more round of music. Neck to neck, breathing one's air. No, not quite. It's breathing down one's neck. Very good. Astha got it right. Breathing down one's neck. Right? Because if you're so close behind someone, let's say imagine it's a race, and if you're so close behind someone, so that your breath is actually falling on their neck, and it's all figurative, right? We're not actually really talking about a race. Let's say in real life you are rank 2 and there is a rank 1 in your school, and you're working very, very hard, and the latest test he got 90 and you got 89. So you are almost breathing down their neck because you're so close to them. Is the meaning clear? Is the figurative usage clear? Throw in an example also. three winds could have seen us breathing down the neck of United at the top of the table. Right? Breathing down one's neck. So we were breathing down the opposition's neck because we were so close to them in the competition. Another meaning of this idiom is to, let's say if you have a boss, right, and he keeps checking on you constantly. So he is also breathing down your neck because you are working on a table, imagine, and he keeps coming and standing over you. So his breath will fall on your neck. And therefore, the meaning is to also check on your work constantly or put pressure on you. Are we okay with this idiom? Moving on. Tell me this. This is one of my favorites. Take the bull, something, something, something. And the meaning of the idiom is to deal with the problem in a direct and fearless way. Take the bull. I've almost made it very, very easy here in this case actually. To deal with a problem in a direct and fearless way. Any guesses? Okay, so next time I'll make one of these. I'll put in the number of words also. But actually, these are idioms which I have already shared, and I'm kind of talking to people who have actually signed up for this, and I want to know how much they have actually followed the work and actually are they aware of this or not. Too many actually is there. Very good. I've got a couple of answers. Take the bull by the horns. So a bull has horns. The seings of the bull, not plural, I think. And that is the best way to deal with a bull, theoretically at least. Don't try it at home without proper adult supervision. But theoretically, it is the best way of dealing with the bull because you have control of his head, and that is the horns are the most dangerous part. So as long as you know what's happening there, maybe you can deal with the bull, right? Or maybe you've seen this in movies or something. So basically, tackling a problem head on, directly and fearlessly. The image is a game. The image that I have gone for is basically the image that comes to mind. And my contention is, with very, very basic common sense and some exposure to language, very soon you'll be able to deduce the meaning anyway while reading without stopping. But in the beginning, you might have to invest a little. So take the bull by the horns, deal with the problem fearlessly. I took the bull by the horns and confronted him about his mistreatment of the workers. Right? There was no real bull. This is all figurative. Moving on, next one. I like this one too. Four words. To share your secret feelings with someone. Something, heart out. And I'm also looking for noose, right? If I don't know easily. Kozuri senpai. Kozuri senpai is give your heart out, take my heart out, tear the heart out. Okay, interesting. Pour the heart out, pour your heart out. Right? Pour your heart out. To share your secret feelings with someone or share your emotional burdens. Right? Basically, share what is in your heart, to pour it out. Yes? I'm sure all of us have at one point of time or another poured our out to someone with friends or family or somewhere. I don't do that, but you guys must have. Next one. Any answers? To tell all, to confess. It's very similar to pour your heart out, but with the element of confession. And heart was one part of the body, this is another. Guys, there is a hint in the image. Are there any beans there? Or what is being spilled? Thank you. Music is mine. Very good. To spill the guts or to spill your guts. Sorry, I should have stopped the music. To spill your guts out or to spill the gut. Because as you know, and as we all know, we keep secrets in our belly, right? I'm sure you've heard of it. That I can't keep secrets in my stomach. पेट में बात पचती नहीं है क्या? Or something like that, right? And there must have been a version of this in any language, whether it's Hindi or English or Marathi or Telugu. There must have been this idea that can you stomach it? That means can you keep it inside? To spill one's guts, right, is to basically spill out all the secrets. So if you look at the images, there are stories, secrets, plots, and they are all falling out in form of. And that's actually, the images are also there because if you become fluent and familiar with the language, this is what happens in your head. Every time you read a fun idiom, there is a fun image happening in your head. And then the meaning kicks in or whatever. So there is a little bit of a double neuron electron burst happening in your head because of that. Because it's a very simple symbolic game of sorts happening, right, at a very basic level. Moving on. No, not intestine, guts. The correct idiom is to spill your guts. Intestine becomes too intense, bro. Next one on screen, hopefully. Something China shop. The meaning is to behave recklessly and clumsily in a situation where one is likely to cause damage. Kuzuri Senpai, maximum points. Arigato, Kuzuri Senpai. Wild buffalo in a wild buffalo. Yeah, I'm guessing it's I'm guessing it's contextual. If we have seen a buffalo, it must be a buffalo. But hint, it's a bull. So if you leave a bull in a, I'm sure you've seen a bullfight, right? A Spanish bullfight. not in like in real life, but maybe on TV. So if you leave a bull in a China shop, China, and China does not mean the Chinese. What does China mean in this context? I'm sure some of you have this. I want to say Chinese cutlery. No, cutlery which is China. Ask your mums; they will tell you what China is. Right, so bull in a China shop is to behave recklessly and clumsily in a situation, and China is your those plates which are made up of glass, I think, but that's what it's called. It's called China. I can put up a picture. It's something like porcelain. You can do a Google search on the site simultaneously. China cutlery, and I hope not. And it's nothing to do with Chinese. Maybe in the ancient time it had to do how it was made in China. But it's clear in the image, right? Plates and glasses all made up of that semi-glass porcelain kind of material. So that's not very important. The actual meaning is to be very insensitive or clumsy, where in a situation where you have to be very careful. Let's say if you're dealing with glass plates or glasses which are made up of glass, because there are also steel glasses, which is very confusing. But if you're dealing with glasses, you have to be careful, because if you drop them, they will break, right? So in a China shop which is full of cutlery, you have to be fairly careful so as to not break stuff. So if you have a friend like this who doesn't know how to behave in particular situations, or who's clumsy, who's breaking stuff, you can use he's behaving like a bull in a China shop. Or let's say if there's a minister who's not very good at stuff, and you let him loose in a very meeting which requires a lot of sensitivity. So any such situation is a bull in a China shop. Ceramic, yeah, ceramic, चीनी मिट्टी की shops. No, not चीनी मिट्टी की shops. I don't know whether I can show you a ceramic. I will show you later. I will remember it. But in a shop where this cutlery is sold, if you leave a bull there, it will cause a lot of damage. That's the image, right? But the meaning is just to be reckless or clumsy in a situation, right? Moving on. An idiom which means so similar as to be indistinguishable from each other or nearly so. Actually, the meaning is given here. Mistake ho gaya. So we are like peas in a pod. So like two peas in a pod. So you and your best friend basically are like two peas in a pod. Yeah. So I'll skip this one. Take a screenshot if you want. Fairly easy. It means, or birds of the same feather or something like that. Right? So very similar to each other, as if to be they are inseparable, indistinguishable from each other. Moving on. I hope you guys are having fun. That's the main agenda. If you fix the fun part, learning happens fairly smoothly most of the time, and teaching, because otherwise you just two peas in a pod, right? So this is the next one. This is an idiom, and it's a physical body movement idiom. You can just do this, and people will understand something, right? Right, the correct answer is in fact raise an eyebrow. So when you raise an eyebrow, you're showing surprised or mild disapproval, right? Let's say if you you come home late and your parents ask you where were you, and you give them some bullshit story, and they raise an eyebrow, that will imply that they don't kind of believe you, right? So to show surprise or mild disapproval, not too much, because otherwise they will not be raising the eyebrow, they will be throwing you out of the house. So raise one's eyebrows, show surprise or mild disapproval, right? This is the next one, something to do with socks to improve one's work performance or behavior. Something to do with socks, and the meaning is to improve one's work performance or behavior. Right, I think I've got multiple. Pull your socks up, pull your socks up. That should be a party song. Pull up one socks, pull up. Why? Okay. Pull up your socks, pull your socks. Pull your socks up, or pull up one socks, right? This pull up one socks, this is basically the dictionary format of giving it. If you read it in a real context, you will see it's time to pull up your socks, right? And when do we pull up our socks in real life? When we are getting ready, let's say early in the day, and we are first going to office or something, we might pull on our socks, right? Or let's say, basically when you want to get readier, you might do that, right? You might tighten your laces before running because you want to get everything right, right? So that's the idea. To pull up one's socks is to improve one's work performance or behavior, right? Easy enough. I think I'll throw in an example also. You really must pull your socks up if you want to beat Jackie in the competition. And a lot of jokes come out of this, right? So you can make a joke where somebody says pull your socks up, and somebody pulls their, like, the actual literal socks up. In fact, if you understand this, you will find a lot of jokes in, say, especially in these Western sitcoms, etc., are playing around this confusion in meaning, right? Because that's where humor comes from. I'm killing the joke here, like literally killing it. Yo. Moving on. So also, guys, it's time for you guys also to pull up your socks, because obviously time is near. Something to do with plate, and there is an image, and the meaning is to have too many things to do, worry about, or deal with. Sir, what's the meaning of brace up yourself? Brace yourself. So let's say, imagine we are going on a special commando mission, and we are in a plane, and the enemy shoots a missile at us, and one of our engine goes down, and then our plane is going to go down, right? Like, it's like flying. I mean, one of the engines is down and it's about to crash. So the pilot will say, guys, brace yourselves. That means hold yourself tightly, because you're going to get into an accident. So similarly, now imagine that, guys, brace yourselves, because the economy is going to go into a tailspin. Guys, brace yourselves, the ship is going to hit the iceberg, right? So basically, to get ready before something, a shock or an accident happens, so that the impact of the shock or accident is minimized. That's the meaning of brace yourselves. Kuzuru senpai. Have a lot on one's plate. Very good. You say arigato like we say arigato. Have a lot, too much, or enough on one's plate. So imagine if you somebody comes and tells me that okay, I have 4 months to prepare for the exam. So I'll say, oh, in that case you already have a lot on your plate because you're also working, you're also in college, and you have a dance class in the morning also. So you have a lot of things going. So you have a lot on your plate, and that means you're going to find it difficult to stomach or difficult to digest, right? So the idiom is to have a lot on one's plate. That means to have too many things to worry about or deal with. No real plate, no real food. Yes? Is it the same? The question is it the same as pull up one's socks? Brace yourself? No, because brace yourself, you're going to get into an accident. And in you're pulling your socks up, the imagery is that of getting ready before a race. So, fairly different ideas. Okay, moving on to the next one. Any answers? A feather and something something, and the meaning is an achievement to be proud of. Right? So we get the idea. A feather in one's cap or hat, either is okay. A feather in one's cap. Now the history of this is very interesting. It comes from that the let's say the Western civilizations encounter with the Red Indians, right? So in the Red Indians, that means the Native Americans, or let's say the Mayans, or anywhere in tribal cultures, you will see that men and women adorn themselves with feathers. Not only that, a feather might be a sign of a victory or a skill or an upgradation of a skill, right? Just the way in the army we have badges, and in fact the same kind of feathers on the hat also. So from that comes a feather in the hat. That means a new skill acquired, a new habit that comes. I mean, basically added to your repertoire. So anything that you acquire, or an achievement that you're proud of, is a feather in your hat, right? And the interesting story behind it. Read up about Native Americans and their culture and how a feather fits into their hat. If you go to the mountains in India, you will find a lot of hippies also with a feather in their hats, but that's not like a thing. So I forgot to add the cover on this, so we already have the answer. So just let's call it a bonus idiom. Have your ear to the ground. It means to be well informed about events and trends. And what's the connection with the ground? I'm sure as a kid, or maybe not, because kids these days just directly fly, and I don't know whether anybody has taken a train. But let's say way back, I mean, as a kid, maybe you tried listening to the railway track to listen to a coming train, which was hopefully very far away. Or essentially in movies or something, you might have seen that if there is an enemy army of horses coming your way, the ground will tremble and you will hear the movement in the ground. So if you have an ear close to the ground, you will be able to listen to what's going to come your way, right? So that's the idea. Have an ear to the ground. That means you are very well informed about what's going to happen, what's happening in the real world. Yes, no? Drop a yes. Please say yes that if this idiom is okay. Who are Hispanics? Hispanics are Spanish people. I mean, okay. So what happened was Europe suddenly decided that they wanted to go all. They wanted to find India essentially to meet me. So they wanted to find India and they wanted to trade with spices and silk, etc. So everybody was looking for a short route for India, but obviously they couldn't do it because they're like slightly slow, and they ended up going to the American continent. So, and all of these guys, the British, the French, the Portuguese, even the and Spanish, and even the tiny ones are the Portuguese, and the Dutch, all of them were trying to basically after they discovered the Americas, they were all trying to now conquer it. Okay, this is our territory. So French occupied some part of Northern America, the British occupied that Central American region, and the Spanish and the Portuguese people ended up going to South America, which is Brazil and Peru and that continent, right? I hope you're aware of that. So they ended up going there, and they obviously conquered the local native Southern Americans, the Mayans, the descendants of Mayans and Aztec cultures, and they conquered them, then mingled with them, and they made this whole. So they and then they moved to America as migrants or whatever. So those people in America are called Hispanics, but anybody of the Spanish origin, Spanish slash Portuguese origin, is known as a Hispanic. Oh, what a journey from right. Okay, so where were we? I have forgotten now. Okay, idiom ear to the ground. Moving on. Yes? Something, something, the barrel. And you know this little journey about who are the Hispanics, and then going back to thinking when the European powers decided to expand and conquer the world, and what happened before that. That was basically because of the Renaissance. But before Renaissance, for like good 400, 500 years, these guys were doing nothing. They were in the something known as the Middle Ages, where the church was all supreme and they had outlawed all discovery. So basically, a discovery of language or a course in language is a course in all of these ideas about the world, right? So if you're watching a movie or watching a documentary, you're all working on your verbal skills basically. You just have to keep your brain in an active mode, and your brain is doing it anyway. So consume a lot of information, and automatically all of this will fall into place. Unless you are living under a rock, everybody has a OTT subscription these days, right? So staring down the barrel is the right answer. And what kind of a barrel? Because there is also a water barrel. So staring down the barrel. So let's say somebody is pointing a gun at you. You are staring down the barrel, and therefore the situation is dangerous for you. Right? So when the situation is dangerous, Having gambled away his entire fortune, John was staring down the barrel of bankruptcy. Yes, easy enough, fun enough. And this is where the joy in the language comes in. Because every time you read it, there's like a little image being burst into your head by the writer, right? So the more familiar you get, and idioms are basically the sign of whether you're comfortable with the language or not, right? Because you can learn a few words and you can learn a few, grammar rules, but to get comfortable with the idioms, idioms is the sign of the native speaker, the primal speaker. Yes, moving on. I'll move on. Another barrel bonus already open. Like shooting fish in a barrel. Now, if I ask you to shoot fish, it might be difficult, right? If it's happening in a river or in an ocean. But if I put a lot of fish, not even a single fish, let's say if I put hundreds of fish in a small barrel, and then I say shoot, will you find it very, very difficult, or will you find it easy? So when something is ridiculously easy, you will say, oh my god, it's like shooting fish in a barrel. Another similar one, I don't have an image right now for it. Maybe you can draw it somewhere. And I'm sure if you're watching a lot of movies, etc., most of these you would have heard somewhere or the other. So if somebody says, we are sitting ducks here, sitting ducks, what would that mean? Right? If I tell you that in this situation we are okay, so because the Chinese forces have taken a high ridge line, a couple of Indian units are sitting ducks. Sitting ducks again is the same thing. Shooting a sitting duck is going to be very, very easy. So let's say if you go on a hunt, right? Again, we don't do such things in India. So imagine you are a British aristocrat and you're going on a duck hunt. And when the duck flies, there might be a little bit of a challenge. But if the duck is sitting, it's a very, very easy target. So if I say we are sitting ducks, that means we are the easy targets. Yes? Sitting idle, no. Sitting out in the open, open to danger from the enemy. Yes, easy to attack. Khudhuri Senpai. Bagato. Yush. Sorry. This is the next one. To tell a long, far-fetched story. I also played Duck Hunter in video games. Most of my own language learning has come from video games, comics, then novels, then watching a lot of movies, and then just reading and watching a lot of movies. After the initial reading a lot and a lot of movies, it was fixed, and then it just keeps piling on and keeps getting better. I don't know whether it gets better after a while or not, but in my head at least. No, it's actually not beatboxing. It's called called drumming. Drum vocabulary. This is a kick. This is a snare. So next time you go partying, ha ha ha. This is a kick sound. This is a snare sound. Any answers? I've got weaving something. Yeah, close enough. Spin a yarn. So the yarn is the story, the spinning is the telling. I think there is a Hindi version also, right? At least Hindi. Give me other versions if you have in your own language. Is fake rahe ho, right? So what are you and fake rahe ho and lapet rahe ho? So you're throwing that thread basically, something like that, right? So spin a yarn is to tell a long, far-fetched story. You know that. Have you guys seen Sholay? Yeah, I'm playing it. कहानी गढ़ना, कहानी गढ़ना, कहानी बनाना. Yeah. Right? To spin a yarn, to spin a tale also is fine. Right, moving on and almost coming to the end. I don't think I have covered the idiom, so I will directly give it to you. A chink in someone's armor is a weak point. Firki lena is, I think, is different. Firki lena is like, I think, making fun of someone, right? So this is not making fun of. Spin a yarn, which we were looking at earlier, is not making fun of someone. It's telling a far-fetched tale. That, you know, once upon a time, I went across a mountain, I met a dragon, and then I stole from the dragon a ring, and then I came back, and then this happened, and then, you know, the king of all the world gave me 5,000 dirhams. So, etc., etc. Right? So spin a yarn. A chink in someone's armor is basically a weak point. A chink is actually this image is wrong. In this armor, the front of the armor is not going to be a weak point, right? So imagine if I throw you right now, and I'm asking you right now, you meet an armored person. I'm sure you've seen a lot of Game of Thrones and a lot of these shows. So you know what an armored person is, right? He's wearing this a breastplate and helmet and everything. Where is the weak point? It's not the front of the armor, right? Saas Bahu Sajish is spinning a yarn, kind of. Is it used only for fictional stories? No, it's used for real life stories. That, like, how, like when we talk, I mean, let's say you met someone and they were spinning a yarn, or let's say in a dramatic. I have an example. I'll share it later, and all of it is loaded somewhere or the other in the course, right? So do look for it. But that India went to Australia to play cricket, and this time they were going to spin a different tale. And actually it was a double word play because India had taken spinners, so they were using this idiom, and that India is taking spinners and they will have a different story. So to basically create a story, whether real or imaginative or too much fictional. Turn the tables. Very similar to turn the tide that we started off with. To turn the tables is to reverse one's position. Bazi palat dena. Bazi palat dena. Turn the tables. Why? Because like, imagine you're playing chess, right? And you're on the losing side. But if you flip the table, then you become the winning side. Right, and I think that's it. 20 idioms, 20 questions, maybe not 20 questions, but 20 idioms at least. So all of these are sent across your course page groups. A lot of it is also posted on the community tab, and it's been so if you scroll down the community tab, you will find a lot of this work. In fact, this was shared today. Butterflies in one's stomach. A shot in the arm shared, I think, a couple of days back. So, and not only this, sorry, it just goes on because that's been going on for 2 years. So, you can keep finding a lot of vocabulary work, and this is to keep that daily momentum going because most people keep, I mean, obviously investing a lot in maths, but they forget all about words and language, and suddenly they will jump into RC and CR, and the vocabulary section is bogus and weak and broken. So the RC and CR is going to be very, very troublesome, obviously. So please make a daily habit of investing in your vocabulary. We'll do a separate session on how to work on your verbal skills, but it has to be a daily process, and it has been made fairly easy, and it's all available. So for example, in this case, incarcerate is a difficult word, but if you understand that it just means to be in jail, it's a very easy word to remember after that. Right? Yeah, this is available on this course. This is the at shikshak.teachable.com. This is the ASVA course. I'm talking about members right now, those who want to find it. This is the vocabulary section. This is the idiom theory video. Please go through that. It's open to preview right now. Go through the basic vocabulary video. Already done. Then the illustrations are already loaded on the course page. Be patient. I just wanted to talk about them so that you know that it's happening and is there. And then again, idioms illustrated, and it goes on. So please log in, find out your vocabulary section, and pay attention to it because I know you're doing a lot of maths, but work on your vocabulary, then work a lot on your reading skills and critical reasoning. That's your secret to CAT section basically, and live section. Right? So I hope you had fun. This is it for this mini session. Tomorrow afternoon there is a session on DILR CAT 18 set or so. The link for that is posted on the community tab. So see you next for that. And there will be some scheduled posts. There will also be some posts when I when I basically feel inspired to make it. I might not necessarily make a big schedule about it. The scheduled ones are different. This is just to get the momentum going, right? So I hope you had fun, and the reminder is to work on your vocabulary. This is it for the day. See you soon.